What would you do if the person you loved above all else did violence to you? Would you stay or would you leave? Well, that's what this book is about. It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. She has dominated the romance new adult market like no other for years, so now I decided to make a video about one of her most famous and popular books as well. And I must say I was surprised and will reveal my opinion about it during the video. More about Colleen Hoover you'll find in this video, Verity. Hi, I'm Lily and on this channel I talk about books. If this is content you like, don't hesitate and subscribe. There are new videos coming regularly. So now let's dive into this emotionally charged story that will not leave you untouched. It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover is a new adult contemporary romance for readers 17 plus. The book was published 2016 by Simon & Schuster. It has 385 pages, which is a reading time of approximately 5.5 hours. A similar book is What Kind of Girl by Alyssa B. Scheinmel. This to the bullet points. Let's move on to the summary. In this story we follow Lily Bloom, whom we follow in the present, and we learn about her past experiences from old diary entries with the help of which she remembers her everyday life as a teenager and her first love, Atlas. Lily has come a long way since then, graduating from college and moving from the small town plethora where she grew up to Boston. In the here and now, Lily returns from the funeral of her father, who abused her mother in a terrible way. In memory of him, therefore, she cannot find a good word to say during the eulogy and remains silent. Still reeling, she's now trying to gather herself on the roof of a Boston skyscraper when she first meets Ryle. Sparks fly between her and stunning, brilliant neurosurgeon Ryle Kincaid, and soon a casual flirtation turns into more. Ryle, who's been consistently averse to a serious relationship, gallantly courts her, is empathetic, and so completely different from her violent father. It doesn't take long and the two spontaneously marry. Lily is overjoyed. She leads a life she's only dreamed of until now. Everything seems wonderful, easy and light, and we share with Lily her present happiness. In contrast, in her diary entries, memories from her past when she was 15 years old and still lived at home emerge. They seem heavy and serious, but are still very emotional and touching. At that time, she secretly gave shelter to the homeless boy Atlas Corrigan and took care of him, providing him with food and clothes and nursing him when he was sick. And Atlas became her first love and soulmate, but they parted ways. At the same time, through the diary entries, we learn about the violence her father inflicted on her mother in every way possible, which Lily witnessed firsthand. These experiences shaped her into the person she became as a woman in her 20s. She has become strong, who realizes her dreams, becomes independent and opens a flower store, Lily Bloom's Flower Shop. Then something unexpected happens. Lily and Atlas' paths cross, and now everything Lily has built up with Ryle gets mixed up, and things in the relationship between Lily and Ryle change in the most unthinkable way. What first started out beautiful and romantic suddenly becomes difficult and tragic for Lily, and old wounds burst open again. So that's all I'm giving away. Let's move on to the impression I got from the story. At first I thought the title It Ends With Us indicated the end of a love story, and then was visibly surprised at the direction the story took and the true meaning of those words. I think it's great that Colleen Hoover has dared to tackle a serious and often hushed up topic in this book in a very honest and unsparing way. Violence in relationships affects not only those who experience it directly, but in no less devastating ways those who must witness it. It is difficult and takes tremendous strength to break through the vortex of violence, especially when you love the person inflicting it. As Lily's mother says, victims often find excuses, and with each time violence happens, the lines become more and more blurred until they dissolve completely. In many romance books, the protagonists have a tragic past, but in this story is told something that is often postponed and described in such a sensitive, understandable way. I have always wondered until now why so many people stay in a violent relationship and lack the strength to leave, to end it. Here, these backgrounds were described so comprehensible and honest as only someone who has experienced such events can. Therefore, I advise everyone to also read the end, the addendum of the author. This is also helped by the fact that the story is told from the first-person perspective and we are very close to all the events. So everything, but especially the bad, is much closer to us emotionally. Often I have the feeling that tragedy is built into the story just to add a little weight to the story and to tick off this point. Here it's not like that at all. The story is built on it. It is the central theme. I must say I was totally surprised because I expected a simple, beautiful love story, and there is that too, but in my opinion it played only a supporting role. I was totally impressed. I also liked the structure of the story with flashbacks through the diary entries, and this allows the author to continue to write from the first person perspective, and so we also feel these events unfiltered with. In other books is often changed by the flashbacks in the personal form. The plot thus does not seem subjugated but comes from a cast. It read easily and is also the reason why I enjoyed this book so much. The characters are vividly described and their actions understandable. The main characters are not one-dimensional. They have many weaknesses, doubt, hesitate, and do not always make the right decisions. Thus, they are unpredictable and that makes them exciting. As Ryle says, there's no such thing as bad people, we're all just people who sometimes do bad things. I could easily understand what moves and drives them. I like Lily the best and immediately took her to my heart. She's an incredibly strong and sympathetic character whose past has shaped her, but she doesn't let it get her down. She doesn't go through a great inner development because her point of view is fixed from the beginning, and she follows it through consistently. The central thing about this character is the decision she finally makes. Although the mother does not appear very often, she is the character I like the second best, because she goes through the greatest inner development. She is selfless and incredibly strong and surprised me the most. She is the one who, in an understanding way, directly shows why many people stay in violent relationships and don't find the strength to break out. I find her the strongest and bravest of them all. Ryle is a character with many facets, and even with him we see to a certain extent why he has become who he is without justifying his actions. Great job. I like that he is not one-dimensional either, but described with many shades of grey, and I really like that. Atlas is a wonderful character who hits every note of my heart, almost too good to be true. The homeless man who immediately inspires pity and then goes through a fairy tale development. The underdog who I want to make it. Now to the things I liked less. I like the secondary characters too, but sometimes I find them a bit overdrawn. The eternal emphasis on Alyssa's wealth was too much. No one says, I will now spend a nice evening with my filthy rich husband, or something like that. Here the sentence sometimes seemed a bit contrived. I already understood it in the scene on the roof terrace that Ryl's sister and later Lily's best friend Alyssa was rich. Alyssa is also the character that touched me the least. I find this character quite one-dimensional, always sweet, happy, cheerful and joyful. She lacks depth in my opinion because she too certainly has dark sides, but they are just not mentioned here. Just by the experiences she has shared in her childhood with Ryl, one would expect more aspects of her personality. Even so, some scenes are obviously contrived, such as the first meeting between Lily and Alyssa. That was quite predictable. I also find the explanation of why Ryl is the way he is too weak as a reason. Sure, what he experienced is incredible, horrible and never lets anyone go, but there are numerous people who experience such a blow of fate and don't react the way he does. But I think explaining that is difficult because sometimes you can't find a cause. Often, however, it can be found in the past because for those who have experienced violence, it unfortunately becomes a component in life as the only solution to frustration and problems. That's why many adopt this behavior even though they have experienced the impact firsthand and go from victim to perpetrator. Don't get me wrong, I am in no way looking for an excuse for this behavior and I deeply, truly abhor it, and my sympathies go out to all who experience the awfulness and have to bear the consequences of it. But sometimes there's just an explanation, not an excuse, really in no way an excuse for it. But then fortunately there are also those who break this cycle and say it ends here, it ends with us. I also end here with my impressions and come to the conclusion. This book is multi-layered with a lot of depth and a serious and important theme running through the story. It seems heavy, but there are also many beautiful moments that lighten the story a little bit. It shows all the facets and extent of violence in families and relationships, and the book is emotionally challenging without just scratching on the surface. It's an important and unique book that stands out from the realm of just romance novels and completely surprised and touched me. I wholeheartedly recommend it and give it 5 out of 5 stars because of the choice of the topic and the execution of it. So here we are again at the end. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed this video, hit the subscribe button. There's more content to come and I'll be back. Until the next one, see you soon. Bye.